Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Going Live with the Global Science Show. Welcome to the penultimate episode of Season 1 of Going Live with the Global Science Show. I make it sound so exciting. We're saying it's the end of Season 1. Thank you to those of you who are watching and who maybe watch back later as well. Welcome to Going Live with the Global Science Show. For those of you who haven't watched before, this is a half-an-hour chat with a science communicator to find out who they are, what they do, and why they are awesome. The Global Science Show being the monthly virtual science festival that allows science communicators all around the world to share a little slice of science with you, wherever you are in the world. Now, our next show is next Friday. It's our biodiversity bonanza. We'll be talking about the natural world, looking at plants and animals and fungi and everything in between. We'll have some live streams, we'll have some videos, we'll have some threads. It's going to be awesome. Now, before we get our guest in today, I'm just going to complain about it because I can. If you haven't seen, in Glasgow today, we're experiencing a really horrible situation where some dawn raids have been taking place. It's Eid, and we've got dawn raids taking place in Glasgow to force people from their homes. So if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend going and checking out a couple of threads that are happening to talk about dawn raids in Glasgow. The Home Office here in the UK is shit, has shown to consistently break the law, and it's just awful. I'm gonna get off that pedestal for now. But yeah, horrible scenes. On to something really nice, and we'll welcome in our guest for today. We're going to talk about science communication. We're going to talk about dream science communication gigs, and we're going to talk about the move into from science communication into PhD, which for some people might be the other way around from how it's usually done. So please say hello to today's guest. It's Affelia Wibisono.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Now that I've got on that pedestal and then jumped off again, I feel I can decompress. Coffee helps, definitely. Thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us today.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to start with the question I always ask, which is, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Affelia. I'm a PhD student at UCL's Marlow Space Science Laboratory. So my research focuses on Jupiter's northern and southern lights. So why Jupiter has these lights, why they're so big and so powerful, and what's really cool about Jupiter's aurora, or these northern lights, to me anyway, is that they come in lots of different forms. So there's the visible lights that we're used to. The Earth has these, of course, but Jupiter also gives off ultraviolet light, infrared light, and X-rays as well. When I'm not doing science, I do quite a lot of psychom, actually. I give a lot of talks, do a lot of public engagement, and yeah, it's what I love to do.
Like, that is like fascinating to think about, the kind of aurora that's visible or not. I'd never really thought about that as like, oh well, it must happen elsewhere. So how is it different to what we experience here on Earth?
So the Earth gets its aurora mostly from the sun. The sun releases a lot of charged particles, and sometimes the sun can give a huge burp, a huge burp of material called a coronal mass ejection. And when they hit the Earth's sort of surroundings, they can be funneled into the atmosphere, and they make the atmosphere glow to give us these northern and southern lights. But for Jupiter, it's mostly caused by one of its moons, Io. Io is very volcanic. Every second, it releases 1,000 kilograms of stuff around Jupiter. And all of this material can pretty much do the same thing as what's happening at the Earth. They can get funneled into Jupiter's atmosphere, making them glow. And that's how Jupiter gets its aurora.
Wow, I did not know that. That is amazing. Like, what a really cool thing to study. So as well as that, and as well as some of the psychom stuff that we're going to talk about, how have you spent your pandemic? What have you been up to?
Just a lot of work. I am very lucky that I don't need to go into a lab and do experiments. All of my data is taken by space telescopes and the Juno spacecraft as well, which is currently in orbit around Jupiter. So all of that, none of that was disrupted, luckily. So I could do my work at home. As long as I have internet connection, I could do my PhD, which is good in some ways, maybe not so good in other ways. But apart from that, just doing lots of different hobbies, to be honest, doing things that I've always wanted to do but never had time to. So I got into embroidery at one point, got into skateboarding as well, but now my current obsession is photography.
What sorts of things are you photographing?
Just sort of random things I see on my walks. I got to say, like 90% of my photos are of the cats. They're probably my favorite thing to take photos of.
That's a pretty good way to go with it. Yeah. It's been nice having the time to build up those hobbies. He says, having not really done much of that over the past year, spending much more time working than I should have been doing. But it's really nice when you see that someone has been doing that and has been building up things like skateboarding. What a great one to get back into. That's a really nice thing.
I've always sort of, when I was younger, I used to play the Tony Hawk's games, and yeah, I've always wanted to skateboard. I had an old skateboard, but I was always kind of too scared to try it. But then I thought, no, I'm just going to do it and see what happens.
The Tony Hawk's games were as close as I would ever get to it, and it's one thing that I haven't done since, like, over the pandemic, is that because it's been re-released again. There's been a version, like, is it Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2? I think that they re-released
1 and 2, yeah.
1 and 2. I need to get them, like, and just feel like I'm 10 again. Anyway, moving on from like that, you've gone about things differently from what a lot of people do when it comes to the world of science communication, where you started with a full-time science communication role and then moved into a PhD. Whereas we're seeing more and more people doing PhDs and then moving into science communication as a career. How has that been?
I think it's been great. I mean, so when I was doing my undergraduate sort of studies, I much preferred talking about science than doing science. And my original plan was to become a physics teacher. I did that for a little bit. I thought, no, but I still liked interacting with people. So I worked at a few different museums and science centers, really loved the job. But then I wanted to see what research was like, which is why I got into the PhD. And I've got to say, sort of all the maths and science part of things, I had to kind of relearn how to do. But there's a lot of skills that I learned from being a science communicator that I'm now using as a PhD student. So, of course, communicating, giving presentations at conferences and things, that's been really, really helpful. But also writing papers and writing grant applications. So actually recently, I had an observation. So I asked XMM Newton, the telescope that I use, for some time to observe Jupiter, and I really think my communication skills helped me write that application and helped to sort of tell the panel why they should give me time to look at Jupiter. So yeah, there's lots of different skills that you might not have thought before that it's actually really helpful.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of whenever people do training with PhD students and talk about what's the benefits of science communication to what you do, like you can now like actually show that in practice, like from having come from that kind of different avenue. So I can see how that would have been like so helpful for especially presentations, like conference talks. I don't know if you can hear it, like to my left. Can you hear that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always about lunchtime. For those who don't know, Bearded Dragon to my left, who just likes to go a bit wild around 12:30. So how have you felt? Like, obviously, you've got a lot of these skills that have been able to be brought into a PhD. How has it been kind of going from that non-academic world into an academic world, because they are very different? How has that been?
Yeah, it has been quite different, but I think the science communication world is very friendly, and people, like to collaborate with others. It's very easy to collaborate with others, and to sort of network, and just to come up with people and chat to them and say, oh, what are you up to? I'm doing this. And that's really helped me at academic conferences, because I have that sort of confidence. I'm used to just, coming up to people and talking to them. And I think what some people might not know is, science is a collaboration. It's not just one person doing the work. So I've been really lucky that I've been able to work with some, real experts. And it's been really fun. And I remember when I was sort of just thinking about doing a PhD and sort of looking into the area, thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could work with this person? And now I am, and it's just pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear about how positive it's been. Moving back to the science communication aspect of things, I've said this to you already, but in a few weeks you're going to be doing like the Dream Science Communication gig, which is so exciting. But what is that all about? What am I getting at?
Is it Cheltenham Science Festival by any chance?
It might be.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, I can't believe that I'm doing this, to be honest, because it is a dream gig. I've wanted to be part of this festival for many, many, many years. And this year's festival is going to be a hybrid festival. There's going to be a lot of live events, but there's also lots of digital events as well. So the show that I developed and created for Cheltenham is all online. So it's called Snowballs in Space, and it's not just me. My friend Chung Ling Liu Kane helped write it with me, and she's also presenting with me as well. And it's all about comets. It's all about what are comets, why are they important, and we're both very lucky. We work with scientists who are part of the Comet Interceptor mission. So this is a brand new mission due to be launched in 2029, and it's going to catch up with a comet. So we talk about that as well, and we introduce some of the scientists working on that mission in the show. So this show is for families and school groups as well. It's completely free, and I write a reply in the tweet, so you can find out more about it.
Awesome. When it's not very long now until that happens, right? It's not a few weeks.
No, yeah. So the actual festival will be in start of June. But tickets are out now, so you can get tickets for all of the events today. They actually came out today, so yeah.
That works out quite well. Oh,
yeah.
Well, go get your tickets, folks. I have never been to Cheltenham, like either as a science communicator or as a member of the public. It's just not one that I've been able to get to. But I've always watched it with like great envy. The thing that I like have always found really funny about it, and like so many of the really kind of big names in SciComm are always there. But the big name that I would always love to meet is the Cheltenham Science Festival Cheese Board. Have you heard of this? No. So there's a Twitter account for the Cheltenham Science Festival Cheese Board, which apparently it's legendary, like the Cheltenham Cheese Board for the green room, for the people behind the scenes. And yeah, that's something I would always be interested in. So you said it's for schools, and there's a family element as well. Are those kind of separate sessions, or are they going to be like one and everybody could come to them?
I think I can come. I think everyone can come to them. So for schools, it's sort of mostly aimed at higher sort of key stage 2, so 10, 11-year-olds, and sort of lower key stage 3, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And we actually originally wrote it as an in-person show, because we were supposed to appear in last year's Cheltenham Science Festival, and then we had to turn it into a digital one. So there's lots of activities that you can do with the video as well. So we tell you how to make a comet. We play a little game called Pin the Fillet on the Rosetta, on the comet rather. So yeah, we wanted to make it as interactive as possible, and hopefully both families and schools can get a lot out of it.
How did you find having to switch something that you'd planned to be in person over to like a digital engagement offer? It must have been a challenge.
It was quite a big challenge, because we had all these ideas for demos and how we're gonna, take people to help us, volunteers, and we couldn't do that anymore. So we had to think, okay, so schools are going to watch this, so maybe the teacher what to do, and then the teacher can do it in class. And also because we recorded it during lockdown. I'm based in Hampshire. Chungling is in Surrey, so we couldn't meet up. So we literally we did this pretty much. We recorded our own part separately whilst being on a call, and sort of tried to edit it so that it looked like we were having an actual conversation. But hopefully the two sort of video aspect and the sort of activities part will merge together. And yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge of getting this show together.
But it's really good that you've still been able to go down that route, and really good of Cheltenham to have kind of like invited people back who were meant to be in the one last year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. I thought, oh, that's it. My chance of being on Cheltenham is gone. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for them to come back to us and say, hey, would you like to be part of this year's festival?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, best of luck with it. Like, it sounds like it's going to be awesome, and I'm sure you're going to get loads of folk coming to watch. But you've mentioned you've posted about it on your page, and we'll have it in the link below this video on Twitter, so you can go and you can get tickets and like take part. Are they still doing the overambitious demo competition? Do you know if that's still happening?
I haven't heard anything about it, so probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of those things that's always really exciting, but understandably, in the world we're in with the hybrid festival, it may be quite difficult. Before we move on, we've got a comment. Cheese is definitely something to get excited about, says Sarah Beth. I completely agree. It's why the cheese board is always something that I'm really excited about. Enough cheese talk. As well as Cheltenham, you're also involved in the Orbits program. Is that right? What is that?
So the Orbits program is a program where we partner researchers with schools. It started off as an exoplanet program. So exoplanets are planets outside of our solar system, and we found more than 4,000 of them, which I think is just mind-boggling. And there's lots of different projects running actually. So we have projects that study the sun. We have schools forecasting when and where we can see the aurora. My group is, of course, looking at Jupiter's aurora. So we're comparing the ultraviolet and the X-ray aurora. Others have used machine learning to identify new features on Mars. So these are real astro research. And we've had, over the sort of a few years that it's been running, we've had 12 papers that have used research and results from the Orbits program. So these sort of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds have published scientific papers. And I think that's really cool. I would have loved to be able to do that when I was their age.
That's incredible. Like we always try to encourage like young people to get involved in kind of citizen or community science programs, which is great. But they generally maybe don't see like a tangible outcome at the end. So having like a paper that they actively contributed to, that's outstanding. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, actually, my first paper had a bunch of school students on them. So we had overall there were 20 people on the papers, and half of them were school students.
Like that sets them up so well for future like opportunities. So like whether it's like the fact that they've had like published papers in some way, or even just for them to have seen the process as well and to understand what goes on, it makes it must make the experience of then moving into research a little bit less daunting. I can imagine. That's a great program. Where is that based out of?
So it started off as a UCL program, but we've now moved. So Northumbria have their own program now. I think Lancaster as well. So yeah, I'm really proud to be part of it. And actually, I think what's also great about Orbits is that because we work with these students for 2-3 months, we get to see them progress, and they get to sort of know us as well. Because I think it's great to go into a school once and give a talk, but you don't have that sort of long-standing sort of impact. You don't know what they're gonna, once you're gone, you don't know if they're gonna take anything on board. So yeah, I think it's really great that we get to do this.
Yeah, it is something that is like a long running problem when it comes to science communication, is the idea of not quantity over quality, but more those kind of one-time interventions that don't really have like a recordable impact really. So having a project like that where you can actively see kids progress over a long period of time, so many positives there. Like whether that is for like, because it could be research about research there, like researching how that program has contributed to research, but also contributed to the kids' enjoyment and understanding of science and the science process and where they want to go in the future. So that is absolutely fantastic. Could you drop a link to that as well, like, so if people want to find out more about it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Right, we're almost getting to 25 past the hour. So I wanted to come back to like you've been a professional science communicator, and we get a lot of people watching who are looking to get more involved in science communication. So I'd always like to know, well, what would be your top tips for someone looking to try and get into SciComm?
I think just give it a go. Just try it. There's lots of different areas of SciComm you can get into, different media as well. So if you're more of a writer, start a blog, learn how to write an engaging piece of article or whatever you're interested in. So I'm still doing this, to be honest. So I've been a professional SciCommer for 10 years. And when the pandemic started, I thought, oh no, like I can't go into schools anymore. I can't do any of my public engagement activities anymore. But then Global Science Show turns up, and I was like, oh, I've never recorded a video before. I've always wanted to. Maybe I should try this. And I've really enjoyed it, and it's a new skill that I've learned, even though I've been doing this for many years. Just try it, and I think trying to talk to other science communicators as well is really helpful. Sort of get ideas for them, ask for help, ask for feedback. I think we're all a pretty friendly bunch, and we're always happy to help others. And I think that's probably the main thing I want to say. Just try it and do it.
It is getting over that hurdle of feeling like you can
Yeah.
just do something and that is fine. Like I understand, like for people that it can be a little bit daunting to get out there and put yourself forward. And yeah, speaking to other SciCommers, like we are a friendly bunch, and we want more people to do SciComm because it will only make everything better. So no, I completely agree with that. And yeah, you've done a couple of videos now for the Global Science Show, right? When was the last time you were involved? There's so many people take part that I can't keep track of who was when people were last involved.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while. I think the last one was the 2020 one, the last one in December. But I mean, hopefully, it's just about timing, you know. So I'm in the last 10 months of my PhD. So trying to fit everything in is quite hard. But no, I definitely wanna do more shows for you.
Well, there's one coming up in July, which I think that will maybe be fairly relevant, which we're going to be partnering up with the British Association for Planetaria, which is going to be really good fun. So we'll be talking about astronomy, so that might be right up your street.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so more details coming soon on that one. Right, I think that is us. We've come to the end of episode 26. Is this episode 26 of Going Live with the Global Science Show? Thank you so much for coming and have a chat with us.
Oh no, thank you. It's been a pleasure and a treasure, and yeah, thanks very much.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with your event at Cheltenham. It sounds like it's going to be so much fun. So yeah, go buy tickets and go, folks. And check out all the other things that are going on at Cheltenham as well, because it is going to be a great festival. And great to see it back as well. All right, I'm going to use the powers that I have to kick you from the room. Sorry. Thanks, Affelia.
Thanks.
Sarah Beth saying that you're working on your first video for GSS right now, which is amazing. Can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so much, folks, for all of you who've been watching, or if you watch back later. Thank you to Affelia for coming to chat to us. So many cool things to talk about there. Yeah, penultimate episode of season 1 of Going Live with Global Science Show. We will be back on Tuesday next week when we're going to be meeting the co-host of mine for Science as a Drag. We're going to be talking to Carla Suchu, which will be really good fun. Hope to see you then. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all very soon.